Since the 1930s, the Barbershop Harmony Society has only been open to male members, but this week they announced they're leaving their old ways behind.
And as you mentioned just a second ago, the fireworks literally just ended. She was sending text messages as they were hiding, texting her husband to tell their young one-year-old daughter that she may not see her daughter again. This is an AR-15 rifle. It's the same style of rifle police say Travis Rankin used on Sunday morning. Now his vehicle is here in the Smith Fork Creek in DeKalb County, and his body was found about a mile down the creek. They needed about 4,000 signatures. They gathered a little bit more than 8,000 signatures on a petition calling for a vote in November on whether Metro Nashville gets a community oversight board. And their message was very clear and simple. They just want justice for Dan Dam. This is both a heart-wrenching and heartwarming story as a mother and her daughter are reunited after spending more than a month apart. Tonight, however, just 3 miles down Murfreesboro Pike, a scene of love, community, and healing. The third event, here in Nashville that honors everyone and acknowledges all those artists who have made major Black contributions, not only to the African-American culture, but also to music around the world. Now, we've learned new information over the past hour on Rankin's background, and it's hoped that some of these clues will lead to his arrest. News Channel 5's Nick Barris is tracking the search for the killer. Nick, a few witnesses have reported seeing the suspect. He managed to wrestle the gunman in the midst of the chaos. Chris Conti has the story tonight. 2 people are recovering from gunshot wounds tonight after a shooting in Edge Hill. If you're heading to the water to get a break from the heat, be aware. Extra boating officers are on the water right now looking for drunk boaters. Hundreds of images of child porn found on a man's computer lands him behind bars, and tonight he's also facing a charge of child rape. Breaking news this morning, police are on the scene of a shooting reported on Apache Trail in Antioch. Several people are dead after a small plane crashed in rural Georgia County. 365 days without hearing the sound of her son's voice. That's what today means for a Murfreesboro mom. The time for transit is now, but not everyone is happy with the current proposed transit plan. News Channel 5's Kimberly Davis explains how a joint public meeting left some with some second thoughts. After another week in the Washington rough, President Trump tees off a 17-day vacation at his New Jersey golf course. The community of Parkland, Florida is waking up this Saturday morning, wounds still fresh after a gunman took the lives of 17 people at a high school on Wednesday. It's been 6 long years for the family of Holly Bobo, and now one of the men accused of kidnapping and killing the nursing student will be headed to trial. The Craft basketball program was founded after the 2016 Youth Violence Summit. It has a goal of keeping young men off the streets and on the courts.
Go, go, go. Screen the roll, screen the roll. You gotta shoot that, bro.
In the game of life, decisions can make or break a young man who may not have the best resources or support.
Let's go! Dunk it!
The Craft Basketball League aims to change that.
From the summit, we heard the cries and for the youth that were involved in violence in the city.
16 teams throughout community centers in Nashville and another 100 in the Youth Detention Center play weekly games.
Gotta make the right decision every day.
Before this game at East Park, players go through an orientation.
We want to make sure we hit home the things that they need to know to make them successful.
Then it's time for tip-off.
If you want to be focused on basketball, you got to work hard and play hard.
Desmond Henderson is 15 years old and a student at Hillsborough High School.
Go, go, go. Screen the roll, screen the roll.
He believes this program is working.
Instead of them being at home doing bad stuff, they're here playing basketball, get to know each other, and build friendships with people.
They working.
Critical thinking, resilience, awareness, fundamentals, teamwork. That's what makes up Craft. And these players will tell you, if you're not on the hardwood this summer, you better be here come next season.
Make yourself better because there's going to be scholarships coming around for sports, and all you have to do is work hard.
At the East Park Community Center, I'm Jonquil Newland, News Channel 5.
Anthony Lyle, Steve Pirtle, Josh.
Day number 2 in the search for little Joe Daniels began with loads of volunteers. On this day, they were separated into groups, loaded onto buses, and taken out to areas not yet canvassed by officials.
I hope we find this boy here soon.
Lou. Anything?
No.
Spread out across a tough terrain, volunteers searched every culvert, barn, and creek.
We'll try to get this baby out here, so that's what we're hoping for.
Over and under barbed wire, through ditches and up and down steep hills, these volunteers trek through thorns, briar, mud, and rocks looking for Joe. Susan Townsend spent more than 2 hours on the road to get here.
I have a special needs son. He's 11 years old, and he is also nonverbal.
When she saw the story about Joe's disappearance, she knew she had to help.
Because we know that that's what we would want everybody to do if it was Isaac.
Day 2 ended with no sign of the 5-year-old, but overnight, officials will continue their search. It's been nearly 2 weeks since Letitia Lane was reported missing by her family. Tonight, however, one step closer to closure for her loved ones, as authorities believe they may have found her body underneath the rubble of this burned barn in Gallatin.
She wouldn't be leaving.
9 days ago, Wilma Taylor sat down with me, surrounded by her family and loved ones. She pleaded for the public's help in finding her daughter, 46-year-old Letitia Lane.
She is my firstborn daughter.
On that day, they believe she had been taken by her ex-boyfriend, James Vaughn, who the week before had showed up at her job in Nashville to say he was leaving town and asked to take her out one last time. 3 days after that interview, Vaughn was shot and killed by officers in Clarksville after a standoff which lasted hours. Police were there to ask him about Letitia's whereabouts.
He pointed the weapons at the officers, as we understand it. They fired upon him, killing him.
Days passed after that standoff. No word from Letitia, but her family and friends held out hope.
We lift this family up before you, Lord God.
Their hope to find her alive, however, faded today after authorities discovered a body in the rubble of this burned barn. Witnesses say it burned down on the 15th. That's 1 day before Vaughn's standoff with police. Authorities in Gallatin have not released the identity of the body. However, Metro Police are nearly certain it's that of Letitia. But for her grieving mother, Wilma, she's waiting to see the dental records before she can be 100% sure it's her daughter.
We just want her back.
In Gallatin, Jonquil, Newland, News Channel 5.
This is how I fight my battles.
We are Antioch. It's not just a saying for this community. It's a step forward in the process of healing.
This is how I fight my battles. Hallelujah.
At Mount Zion Baptist Church, hundreds poured into the sanctuary to cry, pray, and lift each other up.
While the grief is still acute, while the situation is still tender, to really just say that this amazing place called Nashville is wrapping their arms around these students and around this family.
Several victims in Sunday morning's Waffle House shooting were members of the Antioch community. Bishop Joseph Walker was with one of the victims' family members and friends as they learned their loved one was gone forever.
I don't think in my 26 years of pastoring this church I've ever witnessed the level of grief and pain that I saw in that moment with those young ladies who were there, her sorority sisters, and all of those young people in that hospital.
At the prayer vigil, those emotions carried on. Several elected officials spoke and even cried. James Shaw Jr. was also there with his 4-year-old daughter. It's the first time he's held her since wrestling an AR-15 out of suspected shooter Travis Rankin's hands.
This is the first time I've seen her since the incident. So, I actually tried to count the hairs on her eyelashes just because I was just like, I almost didn't see you anymore.
You know, I just can't wrap my mind around any person, any logical thinking person needing an AR assault rifle.
Walker hopes those discussions will happen soon, but first, time to mourn, time to pray, and time to be Antioch strong.